Hey, this is Scott Townsend, and I'm glad to announce that we've got two new subscribers to the show, Pop's Daylight Donuts and Castafly Outdoor Adventures. The first one, Pop's Daylight Donuts, man, they've got the best tasting donuts, sausage wraps, pastries in Northeast Oklahoma. And also, if you'll tell the staff there, hey, Scott Townsend said to give me a large spicy pig, they'll give you a free large spicy sausage wrap. But you have to tell them Scott Townsend sent you. So tell them, hey, Scott Townsend told me to tell you to give me a large spicy pig. So there's the offer. There's the call to action. So go to Pop's Daylight Donuts. Say hi to Mark for me. And go to Pop's Daylight Donuts and get you some. The other sponsor is Castafly Outdoor Adventures.
Adventure. That's where it begins. We look to create and document our moments in time while embracing the majestic wonder and beauty of the great outdoors. Our quest is to explore the back roads of the Ozarks, camping, fishing, and just getting lost. Refresh your spirit and join us on our next adventure.
Paul and his crew invite you to subscribe to the Castafly Outdoor Adventures YouTube channel.
Welcome to the Scott Townsend Show, brought to you by Dietzo Man Productions.
Hey, this is Scott Townsend. Thanks for joining the Scott Townsend Show. And today I have with me a young entrepreneur, a mover and a shaker, keeps people happy, makes dreams come true. He's a founder of BLNK Slate Media, a video production entrepreneur. He's the host of the Starting Blank podcast, and Forbes magazine named him one of the top 15 young entrepreneurs of 2020. So welcome to the show, Sam Lister.
Thank you for having me on, Scott. Super excited to join you and chat today.
That was pretty cool being in having Forbes choose you for something like that.
Also, it was Yahoo, not Forbes.
Huh?
So I'll just.
What did I say? Forbes?
Forbes. It was Yahoo,
Yahoo
for everyone.
Finance.
Forbes. Eventually, Yahoo is still cool. I'm still super grateful that I got to be in that. But yeah, wanted to set it clear. We're still working on Forbes.
Where did I get Forbes? Okay, so it was Yahoo Finance, or just Yahoo.
It is dual feature on Yahoo Finance and Yahoo.
I believe I missed that. That was being pretty slick there. Anyway, so I might cut some of that out. So Sam Lister, thanks for joining the show. I've been wanting to have you on for a while now. And one of the reasons why is because podcasting's taken up a good deal of my time these days. And just wanted to have somebody else on the show who's a avid podcaster and rich in social media, stuff like that. I know I got this idea from you actually on LinkedIn. It was 30 days. It was over 30 days ago. You talked about doing a 90-day challenge, podcasting challenge. And so I thought, well, I think I could do 30 days. And so Austin Kleon, I don't know if you know are familiar with Austin Kleon. He's got a newsletter out. But anyway, so at the first of the year, he came up with this checklist. And the goal is to just check off every day and never miss a day. Just don't break the chain, so to speak. And Jerry Seinfeld says the same thing. He writes jokes every day. And his goal is to take a red marker and put an X through the day. And the goal is not to write jokes. The goal is to cross off the day, and just don't break the chain. So that's what I did, and I couldn't believe how fast it went, but I couldn't believe what a pain in the butt it was, too. What was your experience doing? I can't imagine doing, when 30 days came up, I was like, I'm so glad that's over with. What was 90 days like?
Yeah, I did 90 days of a podcast a day in Q4 of 2020, and it was definitely a grind. It was hard, it was tiring, but it was super rewarding too because, like you said, it becomes less about the podcast, but more about the consistency and actually crossing out a day and building that habit. So it really taught me a lot of things, and one of the biggest takeaways I got from it is even if you're in a mode to not create and you don't want to create something, there's always some level of story or drive or inspiration that you have that maybe once you sit down and start talking, or you can start talking with someone else, that that spark kind of can come out of nowhere. Even though you didn't want to do the podcast originally, you'll be thankful that you did. So that was one of my biggest takeaways, because there are so many times that I didn't want to sit down and record a podcast. It was late at night, early in the morning, whatever it was. But I had to, because I made that commitment to myself. So it was definitely fulfilling. I took a little break in January just to kind of regroup after 90 days. So now I'm getting back into the swing of the podcast game again. So super excited, and it was a definitely cool experience.
I'm reminded of Saturday Night Live, the creator of Saturday Night Live, Lorne Michaels. He said one of my favorite quotes, and I leaned on this quote almost every day. He said, "We don't go on at 11:30 because we're ready. We go on at 11:30 because it's 11:30." Meaning, whether you're ready or not, Chevy Chase, John Belushi, all these guys, whether you're going to be funny or not, doesn't matter. We're going on at 11:30, and so you better suck it up and make the best you can be. Make the best it can be. So I drew a lot of inspiration from that.
Yeah, I love that.
I thought if it's good enough for them, that's got to be good enough for me, you know. And there was days when I really didn't, like you just said, really didn't want to do it. You know, I could think of other things to do, but I had to crank it out.
Absolutely.
Something about showing up when you don't even feel like it. Consistency. What's the number one takeaway you think from your 90-day experience?
It's consistency. Again, like I said, when you even when you get in ruts and modes of lack of creativity, lack of inspiration, you can always push through those. And like you said, like the 11:30 call time, when 11:30 comes around, whether you're ready or not, we're airing the show, we're filming. So falling into some similar pattern when it comes to creating and podcasting, that can definitely help as well. I didn't set a specific time each day, but I knew I needed to cross out the day as far as staying consistent with filming and releasing a podcast. So that's what I did. Just definitely got creative with it. I pulled from older episodes I've done and posted those. So it really forces you to be creative when you sometimes you don't know how to, and then it kind of just sparks up that creativity, lights a new fire or something.
And also, there's going to be days when it just absolutely sucks.
Yep.
And that has to be okay. I mean, if you're afraid of sucking, then don't even start.
Yeah, you have deeper problems if you're afraid to simply fail. And it's totally natural. Everyone is scared to fail in some capacity. I struggle with it every day. Everyone around me struggles with it every day, but it's something that you just work with. And failing is necessary to learn in this. Through this journey of life, that's where you learn the most, is from your failures. And as long as you learn something from it, I don't think it's a true failure. It's when you, as cliche as it is, like, it's when you don't get back up. That's when you can count it out as a failure. But keep trucking along.
How do you inspire? How do you be a good leader and encourage people? Do you encourage people to fail, or do you encourage people to succeed?
Encourage people to break things and fail, but then learn from those failures and learn from those breakings. We have a small team. We have a handful of people, and it's not like we're a big $100 million billion corporation, so we can move really fast.
Not yet, right?
Not yet. yeah, we can move really fast. And that's what I really encourage. I encourage speed, and speed and openness is two of my main, driving leadership styles, is be open to new ideas, be open to try things. Also be open to push back on myself and other ideas within the organization, just because that sense of openness really, really helps with creativity and inspiration, and just coming up with better solutions to problems. So that one is definitely being open to new ideas, different sources, all of that good stuff. And the other one is speed. Like, we have to move fast. Social media moves fast. The digital age and the world we live in moves super fast. So whether it's current events, Tesla investing into Bitcoin, anything like that, like we need to be up to date and know why these things are happening. So speed is huge. If we want to test a new idea, let's test it. Let's launch it this week and then test it and then evaluate, see what works, see what doesn't. But I think being small and moving really quickly is definitely a necessity to grow and scale, and even just be a good leader.
So when you've got this team and you're, the buck stops here as far as you, there's a point where you collaborate, and there's a point where you have to say, this is what we're doing. How far do you let collaboration go before if no one can get to a consensus? Have you found yourself in a position where you've got to say, okay, guys, here's what we're going to do?
Totally. Again, and that comes down to communicating your vision, communicating your message with the team, and say, hey, we're at point A right now. We're going to point B. I don't exactly know how to get there, but I know we need to get there. How do we get there? And that's more so what the conversation is. I know kind of where we need to go, but a lot of the times I don't know how to get there. I don't know how to build that bridge in a sense. So that's what the team helps with a ton. And that bridge, you can get creative, and that's where the ideas are, and that's where the collaboration happens. So as long as we know where we need to go, and that's kind of my job, being the leader, being the visionary, then I can lean back onto my way smarter team than me of, hey guys, I have no idea how to build a bridge. How do we build this? I've built small bridges before, but how do we get to this next level? And that's where the collaboration happens. But at the end of the day, someone needs to make a decision, and that's something you simply need to do. People like leaders. People like leaning on someone in that sense. So if I switched the conversation and said, hey guys, I have no idea where we're going, where do you guys want to go, and let's build the bridge to get there, that would be a completely different conversation, because that's not their role and responsibility. My role is to point to where we need to go, and then have them, again, help all of us get there.
I forgot where I read this, but I totally believe in what you just said. And to emphasize your point, gosh, where did I read that? Anyway, there was this, anyway, I'll think of it later. This corporate team met with their new president, and they sat down at this conference table, and the new GM president, whatever he was, sat back and goes, all right, guys, so what are we going? Where are we going? What's the next best thing? What do we need to be looking at? And the guy said, I knew right then we were screwed, because we really needed him to tell us what the direction was. We would figure out how to get there. We just needed him to tell us where point B was. And he was asking us where it was. And we all kind of looked at each other and knew we're sunk.
Yep.
Man, I wish I could remember that. I was listening through your podcasts, and I picked up on several things. You listed 10 things you listed a list of 21 ideas from 21 years.
Yep.
Which is kind of funny, because Kevin Kelly, he's the founder of either Wired Magazine or Fast Company Magazine.
Okay.
He's 63, I think it is. And so he did the very same thing. He listed out 67 things that he would tell his 20-year-old self. So I thought, that's a cool idea. I think I'll do that. So I came up with 57. Yes, that's right. 57 ideas on what I would tell my 20-year-old self. So I came up with a list here. As a matter of fact, I'm doing a podcast with another guy. We discuss one of these a week. What was you said, actually, going back to what you just said earlier, you said one of the number one things was consistency is everything. So we already talked about that. Don't get wrapped up in the numbers as far as podcasting or social media. That's hard.
It is. It's super hard, especially because we live in a data-driven society, and everyone is comparing followers and likes and downloads and episodes and size of guests you have on and everything. When in reality, you need to ask yourself, why are you doing this? Are you doing it just because of the numbers, or are you doing it to make actual connections and help spread other people's message and spread your own message with the world? There's a fine line, and everyone can ask themselves that. But yeah, social media, it's so easy to get wrapped up in the numbers and wrap your identity and self-esteem around those external factors, like followers, like likes you get on a picture or a video. But it's a super dangerous world and dangerous game to play. So that's when you can wrap your identity around simply being the learner and going into every situation with an open mind, like I said earlier, and relying on those intrinsic values you have, and wrapping your self-esteem around that, and less about the external factors like numbers, followers, likes, and all that stuff.
I like what you said earlier, and I like to surround myself with people who are smarter than me. So right now, let's not be confused. Sam's the smarter one in this conversation.
No way.
I always say I'm the third of the class that made the top 2/3 possible. So that's where I sit. Another one you said was, I'm looking down at my notes here. The best way to learn is to teach others. Can you explain that?
Yeah. So when you learn something, you obviously learn it. You don't typically learn it by teaching another person first. Once you learn something, then you have the ability to teach someone else that the same thing, and that way you can learn it twice. So let's say for me, it's snowboarding. I learned how to snowboard. I'm a pretty solid snowboarder. I've been snowboarding for a decade and stuff. But then teaching someone, I can learn differently. I can I can learn snowboarding twice in a different set of eyes, because obviously I know how to snowboard and stuff, but am I a great teacher? Not really. So that's a whole nother way of me learning a skill that I'm already solid at. So you can apply that to everything, every little thing you've learned in life. If you can teach someone else that lesson, then you have the ability to learn it twice and learn it differently the second time. So it just ingrains those lessons that much more.
And learning something new, you in your video, the first video I think you posted, your parachuting,
skydiving.
Skydiving. Where was that?
I'm from Wisconsin, Milwaukee, so it was a little south of me in like Kenosha area.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was local, but yeah, I went skydiving when I was 18 or so. So a few years ago. That was a super fun experience.
So the one question I had after watching that was, wow, what's it like to land with someone on your back?
I landed incorrectly. He told me to stand up, even though like before they said like, yeah, you can just like kind of like sit down when you land and it smooth sailing. But when you're flying down from the sky, it gets pretty loud. So I had no idea what he was saying. He was saying stand up, but you don't come down super quick. So I kind of just plopped down and sat down, and he was kind of standing behind me, and I definitely could have just stood, but I wasn't sure what I was supposed to do. But you're coming down slow enough that it's not like you're coming full force down. So it was cool.
You're alive, you know.
Yeah, I'm alive. I'm alive and well. No broken bones. So we're all good here.
Yeah, that's the main deal when you're parachuting or skydiving.
Yep.
What advice would you give you're looking back, 21 years of experience. I've been there. What advice would you give looking forward to your 57-year-old Sam? Sam's going to look a lot different, and you're going to have a lot of scars, a lot of stories, a lot of people you've met, a lot of things you've done, a lot of disappointments, a lot of successes. what would you tell your 57-year-old self? What do you want him to know?
That's a great question. I've never answered that before. So I think remembering why you started this journey of life, and remember the small things along the way, and how important it is to not get wrapped up in business and entrepreneurship and working 25 hours a day, and spend time with family and loved ones. I'm really conscious about how I spend my time, where I spend my time, especially being a young entrepreneur, when it's cool to work 17, 18 hours a day. And I've been there, I've done that, but I'm really against that, because I don't think that's not the reason why I get into entrepreneurship. I'm not building rocket ship companies just yet. So there's obviously different levels of work, but I think everyone's under this notion that you need to put as many hours in as Elon does building Tesla and SpaceX, when in reality that's an anomaly. Like you need to find out what works for you and why you want to get into entrepreneurship and start your own business. So I see so many people older than me that their number one regret is they've worked too much. They didn't spend time with family and loved ones. So the one thing I'm hoping I stay true to when I'm 50, 60, 70 is spend time with loved ones and design a life and fulfill a life that I'm really proud of. That's not just centered around work, but it's centered around impact and helping others, and leaving the world in a little better place than when I came into it.
We've got a couple of minutes left here. I'm going to turn it over to you and let you do what Sam Lister does, and that is you do a really great job of ranting, or just just letting it fly. Are your podcasts scripted? Do you write notes, or do you just go off the cuff?
Nope, off the cuff. I'm trying to be a little better at scripting out the guest interviews and stuff, but I love just talking and having a genuine conversation with people. So no, I don't script any podcast. And even when I was doing like 90 days, a lot of the time I would sit down and just ask myself, what do I want to talk about, and come up with a topic kind of on the spot and just rant for 10, 15 minutes about it, and really try to force myself to get into a flow state, to where I can just talk and everything comes naturally, and I don't really need to think about what I'm saying. So that's kind of what I like to do.
Personal and business, professional. I'll leave it. Last words are with you. What's on your mind? What conversation keeps popping up?
Current trends. It's something that I've really thought about, and I'm big into investments too, and I love cryptocurrencies and new stocks and ETFs and different IPOs and stuff. So something that's just been on my mind lately is definitely like the David and Goliath story of like the everyday person against the big corporations, the big institutions. And I think this is true from an investment standpoint, but it's also true from an everyday person standpoint. We see it everywhere. And it's something I'm so fascinated by, because the tools we have as a society, and especially younger generations, Gen Z, millennials, and really everyone in between that utilizes social media and these mass communication tools that we have access to that are completely free, we're seeing such a huge shift of, I guess, power, even when it comes to enabling the everyday person to band together with other people to create actual momentum in their lives. We saw it with like GameStop stock initially, and that's just a group of people on Reddit that really pumped the stock, and we saw billions and billions of dollars being lost by big institutions and hedge funds before everyone got shut down. And I won't go into the details too much, but stay high level of small man versus big corporation. And that's what I love. And I think investors like Chamath Palihapitiya is amazing. If you know that name, definitely look him up. Chamath. I have no idea how to pronounce his or spell his last name, but he takes a super cool stance of, he's a big tech billionaire, but he fights for the little man because that's who he is at heart, and he fights against the big corporations and big power, big brother power, essentially. So that's something I'm super fascinated by, of like, how do we as a collective society really start pushing against these big institutions that are just old, slow, and they don't really know what they're doing anymore in a 2021 world. And a lot of the times these smaller groups and these smaller people, they have a better pulse on what's happening and what more effective ways there are to do life, essentially. So I know that's probably not the route you expected me to go, but that's definitely what's been on my mind. And I think it's a cool conversation to keep going as it progresses. And I think we're just on the starting line of that conversation really sprouting into something bigger.
It's like the emperor's new, has no clothes, really. No one wants to say that they don't know what they're doing, but really, a lot of times they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And so it's great for the anyone, whether you're older, younger, whatever. If you have the opportunity to say, hey, look, you know what? I think we're going in the wrong direction here. I think this is wrong. I think we need to be going this way, because the direction you're going now does not make any sense. But no one wants to say that, So
well, and changing your mind is a superpower. I forgot who. I was reading someone's tweet. It might have been Tom Bilyeu's, maybe Vision Lakhani. One of those. But he was essentially explaining how changing your mind is absolutely a superpower. Like, so many people get dead set on, hey, I said this thing. This is my decision. I'm going to stick to it until the grave, even though the answer is no. That answer is the wrong solution or the wrong idea or whatever. So being leaders and being entrepreneurs and just conscious-minded people, like, we have the ability to change our minds at any given moment. We get a new piece of information. We get a new data point. We have a different conversation that shifts our mind, and being able to pivot your mindset is huge, I think. And it's something that I try to do every single day. Again, that's why I said I try to lead with an open mind of change my mind. I am so set on having you change my mind. And I know you can get into troubles with relationships and stuff, but
that makes Thanksgivings difficult sometimes.
Little bit, but overall, changing your mind is huge. And I think a lot of people struggle with it because they wrap themselves around, hey, I said this one thing, I need to take this to the grave, when maybe halfway through, like, this is the wrong answer, but I'm still going to go with it. That's delusion for me. It's like, once that's not the way to go, find a way to yes, and do that as fast as possible.
Is there anything that you think about or believe in that's rock solid that won't change, you think?
Besides having an open mind is how you grow. No, there's not a lot of things that I'm super rock solid about, because I've only been living on this earth for about 21 years. So a lot of change in that standpoint. And especially in the past 4 or 5 years, like, my complete world has turned on its head, flipped around a few times. So do I know what the next 5 years are going to look like? 10 years? No idea. And everything as we know it could change. Everything we know could change. So there's not a lot of things I'm rock solid about, besides, like, having an open mind will always win. Being kind to people will always win. And being, like, a genuine good person those are the things I'm pretty rock solid about.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah. It's so funny you bring that up, is because just today, Prime showed up, and the book, Adam Grant's Think Again. It's about change. It's the power of knowing what you don't know.
And, I haven't read it.
Yeah. So I heard an interview with him on the James Altucher show. So I ordered the book, and so that's on my list of books to read. But anyway, he's talking about, kind of what you just said, have an open mind, and how to evaluate new ideas and perspectives, and just kind of stay resilient and nimble. And Sam, our time's up. Man, where'd the time go?
Thank you, Scott, for this. It was an awesome conversation. I love these conversations because they go by so fast, and it's a cool flow state we can kind of both tap into where we don't need to think about anything else besides the conversation. So again, definitely had a blast.
If someone wants to get in touch with you, contact you, where do they go? How do they do that?
Yeah, shoot me a message on any social media. Just type in Sam Lister, and I typically pop up. Instagram is Sam X Lister. LinkedIn, just type Sam Lister. Just a kid with long hair, entrepreneur in his bio, and just reach out to me there.
Sounds good. Well, so at the end of this podcast here, I just want to mention, if you like this podcast, subscribe, like, share, leave a review. If you are watching on YouTube, do the same thing, like, share, subscribe. Leave a comment. If you have questions that you want answered later, you could leave them there as well. And what I think is really cool is in your smart speaker, if you say, this is so cool, Alexa, I'm not going to do it now, but you say, hey, play the Scott Townsend Show. She just starts playing it. I think that's really cool. So Sam, thanks a lot once again I'm glad we were able to make the connection.
Likewise, thanks for having me on.
So for Sam Lister, this is Scott Townsend. Thanks for joining the Scott Townsend Show, and we'll talk to you later.
The Scott Townsend Show is a Deetso Man production. For more episodes, visit the Scott Townsend Show YouTube channel, listen on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.